Hi guys, welcome back to my video. Today's video is another movie review. So this movie was dropped on Friday on Netflix called End of the Road, starring Queen Latifah and Ludacris. So let's just say this movie was so good that I watched it twice back to back this weekend. Okay, so we here to give my review of what I thought of the movie and so on and so on. So far, I enjoyed the movie. Of course, y'all know I watched it twice. So first, it starts off with the mom, played by Queen Latifah. Her name is Brenda. So we have Brenda, Kelly, which is her daughter, Cam, which is her son, and Reggie, which is played by Ludacris as her baby brother. So they all live in California. And the mom, she's at the gas station getting gas and picking up some snacks and stuff, whatever. So she heads while she's at the gas station. She goes to use her card. One of them became declined, and then the other card, God granted her strength that it went through, and she was able to get what she had to get. So she ended up heading home. While she's home, the moving truck is there moving the stuff out the house. She sees she sees her daughter kissing her boyfriend, and she beeps the horn and I'm scaring him. She's like, scared you much? And eventually they all walked out to the car so they could say their goodbyes. Her boyfriend was like, text me, whatever. And then Brenda was like, where's Reggie? She was like, he broke free from the string I held him on. She was like, listen, enough with the smart mouth, and let's just get ready to go. So the Reggie pulls up, and he smelled like a whole bunch of weed. And she was like, listen, I done told you about this. Like, I thought you said you was going to quit. He was like, yeah, I am, but for the whole trip, I'm going to try not to, smoke this stuff, because she don't want her kids to, do that type of stuff. So she ends up going into the house because Cam is still in the house. So Reggie and Kelly, they go to the back. He starts smoking his blunt he got left because, he promised his sister that he wasn't going to smoke the whole trip from California all the way to Houston, Texas. That's where their destination is. So they go to the back. They start talking. And Reggie tries to tell Kelly, like, listen, your mom has gone through a lot and stuff like that. But Kelly doesn't hear that. When children hear parents say certain things, they just think it's their fault, why they got to uproot their life, not knowing the whole consequences behind the situation. So, long story short, Kelly's mad at her mom for leaving, from making a move all the way to another state, basically. So Reggie tried to reassure her, like, listen, since your dad died, things has really been tough. Your mom has to do all this stuff by herself. And, just lighten up on her. Show her a little respect and show her a little bit of consideration that you care that she's doing this thing for you, okay? Because she's your mom. So eventually Kelly takes that in, I guess, whatever. So he ends up letting her smoke with him. To my understanding, it's like, does her mother even know that she be doing these type of things? Because, most people, if they smoke, they start coughing with it. That shows that they never did it before. But she was doing it like a pro. Like, what else you be doing behind your mama's back? But anyway, so Brenda's in the house, taking one look through of all the memories and stuff that they had. Cam is sitting somewhere in the closet still, not trying to move. He was like, I'll just sleep here in my dad's bed. She was like, listen, they coming to take that too. So you're just going to be in the house by yourself. Eventually, her mother calls and asks, did they make it on the road yet? She said, not yet, in a few. And they're supposed to be touched down at her house when they make it to Texas. And, see how that goes. Eventually, they said their goodbyes. They said a prayer outside to make for safe travels. So they end up driving from California to Arizona. So in the process of them riding, it skips a scene to where it's like a drug deal happening, in some type of desert or whatever. And one of the guys' name is Rock, and then his partner's name is Pepe. So they end up getting this money from somebody else. I think the Sintel cartel, whatever. They end up getting money from them. And Rock told Pepe, like, listen, we got to go get this money to Mr. Cross. And Pepe was like, yeah, let's do it. So I guess Rock didn't really want to, like, have to split the money between him and his partner. So he ended up shooting Pepe in the eye. He's dead on the ground. So Rock takes the money and tries to go out of state. So back to the family. The family ended up they ended up making it to Arizona. They stop at this gas station to, you know, rest stop, gas, food, pee stop, whatever. So they go in to get some more stuff to buy gas while Kelly uses the bathroom. And the cashier says some weird stuff to Brenda. She was like, he was like, do you plan on doing visiting here or something? She was like, yeah. And then he said something else weird to her, just like, okay. As soon as Kelly came out the bathroom, Brenda grabbed him like, listen, we gotta go. Like, it was weird. Like, whew. So as they're leaving out the store, these two white guys are in their truck and they start whistling at Kelly. Mind you, Brenda don't walk ahead, so she don't really pay no mind to what had happened to her daughter. So as she's doing so, Kelly ends up sticking the middle finger up to the boys. And then they all get in their car and they drive off. So they're driving down the road. They end up getting to this part where it said road detour. So they had to end up going to this road, going down this other road. And when the sign pans up, it literally says wrong way. So you already know they're about to be heading into some trouble. So long story short for this part, those boys end up catching up to where they were at. And they started playing tricks with them and just messing with them. And then come to find out, Kelly tells her mom, like, listen, it's my fault that they're trying to mess with us because I stick the middle finger up at them because they was being nasty to me and tried to hit on me and I wasn't here for it. So her mother was like, listen, don't you know you ain't supposed to do that? Because especially when you in a certain part of town, it's just like, you know, you just got to get where you got to go to so there won't be no problem. So that fact that ain't happened, it was a wrap. So eventually she had to apologize to them. Mind you, they was the ones that was terrorizing them and almost put their life in danger. They could have had a whole wreck out there, whatever. But anyways, Brenda put her pride aside and was like, listen, I apologize for endangering you white people's lives. And they apologized and let them go. It's like, they thought that was the least of their worries. So they end up, Cam ends up finding a motel for them to stay at, and it ended up being the Sunset Motel. So they all get into their room, and they start wanting to get ready for bed. Mind you, Reggie, he done blew the bathroom up. So now they all got to get ready to go to sleep. So I was doing so, come to find out they said Reggie snoring so bad. So what he did was dramatically and playing around, act like he was fake sleep and started snoring. So eventually Kelly got tired of it and threw her pillow to them, and then they having a little pillow fight. And then the room next door started banging on the wall. So it was like, listen, all right, let's hurry up and go to sleep. So as they're sleeping, noise ends up waking them up. It's like 3, 4 in the morning. They were end up waking up, and Kelly asked her mom, like, what's that noise? So they all end up waking up, and they just start hearing these loud thudding sounds, like, what's going on? So she was going to try to call the police. As she was doing so, she heard a gunshot, so she put the phone down. Was like, listen, let's just stay extremely quiet. As the person that was next door to them ended up leaving the room, he tries to shake their doorknob and then eventually got in his car and left. So once they thought that it was in the clear, Brenda Reggie goes next door to go check to see what was going on. Kelly is told to call 911 and stay there with her brother so that nothing else will happen to them. So they end up, come to find out, the person in the other room was Rock, the guy that stole the money to give to Mr. Cross. And since Brenda was a nurse, she was going to try to help him, and she told her brother to go look for some towels. While doing so, Reggie went into the bathroom. He found a towel, but he also found a bag And you already know what's in that bag, some money. So he ends up giving her the towel, and somehow or another he ends up getting the bag out the room. So they leave once the police come and they tell them what happened, and one of the officers let them go. So they on the road. So a few seconds later comes the captain. Captain Hammers, he goes in, and one of the officers tell him what happened, and he was like, listen, I let the family go. And he was like, but they were the ones who witnessed what happened, and they wanted to see if he could identify the voice. So they're like miles and miles away, and the captain was like, okay, so eventually we're gonna have to get in contact with them so they can see what they know. They end up going to some place to stop and eat, and they get this weird phone call. So I'm thinking when they was at the police station, when the police asked them questions, the police asked them what's their phone number, so in case they had any more questions or answers, that they can get in contact with them. So once they get to this next stop, Brenda gets this phone call. And the voice was distorted. And it was like, we know what you took, and we want our money back. At first, Brenda was like, I don't know nothing about this. And he kept hanging up. So the second time, come to find out that they know her name, and they know they took money. And then kind of find out she was like Reggie. She inkling, because he starts doing this certain twitching stuff. And she was like, I know you up to something. Come to find out, he showed her the money he took out the car. And then she was told, like, listen, I'm going to put the money back. So they end up driving to this another hotel called the Center Inn Hotel. Mind you, when she's going up the stairs, there's a cleaning person that's watching her every move. So she goes to drop the money off in this abandoned room. She takes a screenshot of the picture, sends it to the people. And then the woman answers the phone, was like, listen, go get the money. And Brenda was like, I'm not going to get the money. So then Mr. Cross ends up coming on the phone, was like, listen, go get the money or it's going to be a problem. By this time, they already went to some tourist attraction place in town. So they start having fun and looking around and stuff. Brenda and Reggie, they have a moment, and you know, she got upset with him because he took the money. And now during that time, Cam had to use the bathroom. So he's in the bathroom while Reggie and Brenda are talking. Brenda got mad at him. She ended up slapping him, and then Reggie walks off because, you know, he got tired of people telling him that the family's messed up. Like, that's all he's known for, and he's tired of it. And one day he's going to do something that's going to shock everybody, and it's just going to be like, wow, I told you so. So eventually Brenda, you know, she kind of like, she's like, okay, she felt sorry for him because she did what she was doing a lot. So as they was getting ready to go, Brenda received another phone call telling him that the money is not there. And so now Mr. Cross finds out that they're there, and he ends up taking Cam into his car. So now Brenda has to leave Reggie and Kelly where they're at, and then she has to go back to the hotel where she dropped the money off and gets the money. But as she's doing so, she sees the cleaning lady with the money trying to run. So eventually she went on a speed chase with the cleaning lady to get the money back. The cleaning lady ended up driving her to some part of town where I guess where she sleeps or whatever, like a little gang type situation. So she ends up going there. She gets the money back from the girl after she done flipped the car over. But all her people come out, and they basically ganged up on her, took her, beat her down, and took the money. So she's knocked out. She's been there like almost for hours. But she wakes up, she finds out she's tied up from the hands to the feet, and the bag is gone. So she found a way to get untied, and she was getting ready to go. She started fighting them off too. She was like, listen, this money is from Mr. Cross. I have to send it to him. Once they heard Mr. Cross, they put all that money back in and let her go. It was crazy. So eventually, now that Cam is missing and Brenda's on the hunt for the money, Reggie and Kelly, they arrive at this restaurant called Lucky 13, and they sit down and have a chat. In walks the captain. The captain starts talking to him like, where's your mom? She's not here. And then they was like, well, he was like, where's your mom and brother? Well, my brother is with my mom, and we received a radio call that she was driving like she ain't got no sense. And they was just like, well, still not trying to tell nothing. So he ends up saying something to them. He was like, well, if you have any questions or the whereabouts, whatever, just let me know. He ends up leaving. That right there was a signal, like, he already know what's going on. Like, he knew that the son was not with the mom, and the mom is somewhere by herself, and he's just like, I wonder if they're going to tell me the truth. So eventually Kelly runs out to the car where the captain is, and tells him what's really going on. So the captain takes Kelly and Reggie to his house. My hunch was right when they was all at the restaurant together. My hunch was like spot on, right? They get to the house. They open up his car. Guess who's inside the car? Cam, her little brother. So the captain, Captain Hammers is his last name for the police work. He is really Mr. Cross. He's one person perpetrating two people. So he's a drug lord / corrupt cop. So basically, and the two voices you hear that are distorted when they make them phone calls is both his wife. They have a voice decoder on their phone that they can say whatever they say and you can't really tell. So, dang, this is quite long. We're trying to speed this up real quick. Okay, we got a few more seconds. So, long story short, Cam, Kelly, and Reggie, they divide the plan so they can end up getting out of the base because he locked them into the basement and took their phones. And the wife and him are upstairs trying to find a way so they can get their money. Brenda, she's on the hunt trying to find out where they are. She's going to the restaurant where they was at. They wasn't there. Come to find out, she knows now because where they are, because Mr. Cross, which is the captain, he sends a picture of her family, and he already know which way. She already know which way to go. So she gets in her car and starts driving towards his house. But on the way there, her car starts acting stupid and she crashes into something. And she has to end up walking to his house. So the rest of the family devises a plan so they can get out. They put Clorox inside of a bucket and tied it up. So they tried to break open the window at first. And there was the dog there that came in. So that alerted the captain to come downstairs to see how they were doing, because the dog ended up biting Kelly on the arm as well. So the captain comes downstairs, he starts talking to them, and then he gets to a certain spot and the bleach pours into his eyes. They had some tools or whatever that was able to like knock him out so that they can go upstairs to try to escape. But doing so, they end up going into the kitchen where the wife was at, and they started fighting. Then Cam ends up having a gun, pointing at her, and like she was like, you're not gonna do anything. So mind you, Reggie and her are going at it. She ended up stabbing Reggie in the side with some scissors. So you already know he's injured. But Kelly was like, listen, he's not gonna shoot you, but I will. And they didn't shoot her. Like, they end up knocking her out or whatever, and then telling her to go downstairs to the basement with her husband. They end up locking them in that basement, and then they leave the house. So they're walking, and they're talking. They end up getting a phone call from Brenda, and Brenda was like, listen, I'm so close to you, I just don't know where you are. And Kelly was like, listen, I can hear you. And then the Cam put on the flashlight and was like, listen, let's see if we can find you. They kept listening to the voice. They found her. They were like a few feet apart from each other. Brenda threw the money to Reggie. Reggie was like, man, we don't need to put this back. Brenda was like, listen, we got to put it back. So Reggie took the money to walk back to put it down so where they can see it. But doing so, I already know his intuition struck in really good. So eventually, he threw the money down. The captain and his wife was able to get out. They get into their car. They find out where they are because of their voices. When Brenda had crashed the car, they was trying to restart it again. So he followed the voices to see where they was at, and they end up doing like a little speed chase or whatever. So yeah, they end up going into the woods. Brenda, when she went out earlier from the beginning of the movie, she ended up buying these flares and whatever, like grenades and stuff like that. So basically, Brenda was about to sacrifice herself for her family so that they can leave them alone. Long story short, when Mr. Cross shot at them and broke out the back window, Brenda actually fell out the car with the flares, and she stood in between the two cars. And Brenda lit one of the flares, threw it into the car. The wife got so nervous that she ended up shooting herself to death. Their car ended up blowing up. Mr. Cross and his wife ended up blowing up in the car. The family, they ended up getting away and escaping. They made it to Texas the next morning to go have dinner at this beautiful diner. And Reggie said he was paying. You know, his tingling situation started twitching, and Brenda was like, "What did you do?" He took about 5 stacks of that money out that bag. Smart man, smart man, smart man. And he paid for dinner. And everybody was like, Brenda was like, "You gotta put the money back. We gotta give it to." They were like, "Give it to who?" The person you're trying to give it to is Mr. Cross, and he's dead. And you ain't got nobody to give it to. So eventually, they all in agreement to keep the money. That was their restitution from what happened. Honestly, they deserved that, and the rest of the money that was in that bag. So they made it to Texas. And yeah, that was it. That movie was so good. I really watched it twice. I really enjoyed that movie. Like, I can watch it forever if they keep it up there as long. That movie was so good. Shout out to Queen Latifah and Ludacris. Y'all did y'all thing on this movie. And also, Sean Dixon, if any of y'all don't know, he's an actor. He also plays in some Darman videos that I'll be reacting to. Yeah, he's really good too. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this movie review. It was definitely worth watching, and I definitely recommend y'all to watch it once, twice, 500 times if possible. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see y'all next one. Bye.